Welcome back, YouTube. So in this video, I'm going to answer one of the most popular questions I've gotten in the comments over the last few videos is what is the likelihood that Doge can retest some of its previous highs? And this is actually a multi-step process. I'm going to go over that in this video, but I'm going to give you what would need to take place in order for us to hit 16 cent and how likely that is, because it's actually not far-fetched now as long as we don't get a shakeup on the macros. But we're going to go over those numbers in this video and take a look here at the chart. So as you can see, the previous trend that we had has been invalidated. This was setting up a lower high, and pretty much this was the barrier that we needed to retest the 948 mark, 945, 948 mark. And we have not retested it yet, but we have broken above this barrier here. We've come pretty close here with the rejection, and we've built a couple candles above it. So we're still on a very bullish, and this is an aggressive trend here. So the first step that we're actually going to be looking at for is to retest this 945, 948 roughly mark here. And this is, if you can't see it, this is literally right at the cusp of the 21-day and a 50-day SMA. So that's going to be step number one. Step number two is going to be retesting our previous high, which was the beginning of this downward trend. And that's the 1118 mark. You're going to be able to see it here right at the pivot. So this is, I've said this in a few videos here, but this is going to be the equivalent of the 22K for BTC. And this is going to be the equivalent of around the 25K for BTC. This is just for relevance if you need some perspective. So this would position us. So we test this, break it, test the 1118 and break it. This puts us in position to go and have this gap up. Now, the same reason that we can have that massive gap up, and again, for perspective in BTC after we hit around the 25K mark, is the same reason we can have this gap up here in Dogecoin, because we've seen this here on this side. Typically, gaps get filled. And you guys know how I feel about gaps. I prefer to have something like this so that we can kind of build strength along the way. But this is already set in stone. These candles have already closed. Nothing we can do about it. So we retest 1118, we break it. And if we have a strong candle breaking this here with momentum, it is very possible that we can fill this yet again to the upside. So this puts us on the low end at around 14. And then, of course, we can see it around like 16 before we start retesting some of these previous rejections up here. Now, remember, this here was back in October, late October, early November, and this was the Elon purchase of Twitter. That's how we got those highs. And remember, it's very important for you to remember what happened when we hit those previous levels. Shorts went to the moon as well. Let's go back. So we're not forgetting anything. This was pretty much the shorts response to that price action here. So, but they've consolidated greatly since then. So we're certainly seeing closer to a more organic approach with price action right now. But they certainly responded very aggressively when we got that price bump. So you can probably expect that again, especially if we start retesting around the 1118 mark. So if we break that, we would obviously need something because we'd have some rest obviously in here. And I'm not saying that unless something like Elon came out and said something along the lines of, Twitter payments with Dogecoin is ready to go, then of course we could probably blow through a lot of these resistance levels and just kind of put like a huge candlestick here. But outside of that, we're going to have to go through these tests. Of course, there'll be some rest in between there. And then we can kind of talk about around like this 16 cent mark. Now, the biggest thing here that can kind of prevent that is obviously going to be a shakeup in the macros, but candle-wise we're looking good. We are looking to see where these candles close. I gave you the short-term time frame about a day ago. We have another 24 hours to make sure that we get a candle that closes above this trend line, and we are building a green candle here. So that'll kind of be like our official invalidation of this trend. And then we can keep our eyes and kind of get set on around the 945, 948 mark. And that's going to be that step one to that trend. So really we have two before we're in gap up territory. And that's when, it's very possible that magic can happen. But for right now, 945, 948, 1118, these are going to be the numbers to look out for. That's going to give us that, I guess, the geek key to test those upper levels of around like the 16 cent mark. And if you're looking at BTC as an indicator, which most of the time you should, because that's going to have the highest allocation of institutional money, you'll see here, this is very aggressive. This is very good for any crypto in the top 10, close to the top 10. This is very aggressive, and this is very good because we have, it's looking like we're going to close above the 22,781 mark. And this is going to be kind of like that 945, 948 mark equivalent for Dogecoin. So that means, and if you look here, what is this? This is a gap. So this is very likely we can have this run from 23,150 to 25,112 and retest this level here. Now, this is where things get interesting. This is why I said that, people are saying, oh, is it possible for us to have that 16 cent? It is very possible if we don't have a shakeup in the macros, because what happens? We have a gap here, we retest 25.12, depending on that candle. And what do we have here in this range? Another massive gap here. So this is going to be very interesting here going forward, because this can put us right around the 30 range, 31 range or so for Bitcoin. So but obviously, again, we know crypto is capable of putting up those huge candlesticks, but more than likely we'll have some consolidation, some rest, some pullbacks in between. That doesn't invalidate the run. The most important thing we're going to have to do is kind of just make sure that macros are lining up and not causing contradictions, because if you watched, I'm going to be releasing another video today, if I don't release it before this one, going over the odds for a recession. And so I believe that'll be a great watch for you, because I'm going to go over some indicators that have not been wrong for the last 50 plus years. So I think that'll be a great indicator to kind of get a feel for things on the macro. But in the micro, things are looking absolutely great for Doge, for Bitcoin to go and retest some of these previous highs here. So until we get those shakeups, that's what we're going to look for on the short time frames. The long-term time frames is obviously there's some question marks there. So that's just kind of something we're going to have to keep an eye on. But right now, this is looking absolutely great. And it is certainly not out of the question for us to go and test some of those previous highs. That's my update to answer your questions about Dogecoin possibility going to 16 cent. If you liked anything I had to say in this video, subscribe to the channel, like the video, share, and also check out Moomoo. I have a link in the description section where you can get up to 15 free stocks if you open a new account. I appreciate all of you, and I will see you in the next video.